Well, hello there internet, I'm CST from the Guild of Awesome, and I'm going to RTX London 2018 this weekend. So what I'm going to do while I'm at RTX to London 2018 is I'm going to cover my experience there. I'm going to cover the things that they do, things you can do there, and there's some of the shows that are going on while you're at RTX. Basically, I'm going to also compare it to RTX London 2017, because I did go last year. And basically that's what this video is going to be, because it's before RTX London. If you look at the time of video, the date of this video being released, you'll see it is before the weekend for RTX London 2018. So this video I'm going to show you what happened basically at RTX London 2017. Something I need to point out beforehand is when I came to start this video, I went for my phone because last year I took a bunch of pictures, took a bunch of videos. I took some pictures with Bernie Burns, took some videos with fucking Jeremy Dooley, and I replaced my phone in December this year. And I was 100% certain I backed up all those photos to a folder on my PC, but apparently not, because I can't find it anywhere. And I kept that phone for months. I got the new phone in December. I kept it until literally a week ago, and I threw it away because I was 100% certain I backed up all the RTX London 2017 pictures. I did not. So it was a good picture I had with Bernie Burns. I don't have it anymore. Let's see if I can get another one this year. I'll have to be fucking lucky though. So all of what I'm going to show you today is going to be on Google Maps and in Microsoft Paint. I still have the guidebook from last year, so I'm going to be using that to show you the venue. So that's enough of me talking. Let's go with the video. I'm going to show you, basically cover what happened last year at RTX London 2017. Okay, so let's start with the venue itself. It is the XL London, and actually I think this is a really good fucking venue for a convention. Let's just take a quick look inside. So basically, it is just one long corridor, and it is filled with restaurants, bars, loads of seating areas. This Google Maps was taken in 2012, but it actually looks pretty much the same. The food court has changed quite a bit, but it's still practically the exact same thing. So like I said, just one long corridor. So it goes all the way over there, and an entrance all the way over there. And you've got the exhibit halls along the sides here, so like N3 and 2. So I actually think this is a perfect place for a convention. I mean, just look around, you've got plenty of space to move around. You've got all this food court, you've got bathrooms all on the walls here. You've got plenty of places that even when the convention was in full swing, there was plenty of places where you can just sit down and eat some food. It's actually a really great convention hall. Taking a look outside the convention hall, we have, so basically it is surrounded by hotels, it's surrounded by bars, and it's surrounded by restaurants. So you've got all the hotels and a few bars on this side. Go over here, you've got some hotels, you've got some bars. In fact, the Fox at XL was where everyone went to hang out. And there's also the Custom House. I think there's actually a bar around here that everyone went to as well. So those are the two main places that people went after the convention ended, just to hang out and meet people. I think it was really good. So yeah, I think the convention hall is a perfect place to have a convention. Inside it's got loads of places for you to eat. Outside you've got loads of places to stay and eat. It's just a fantastic area to be in. The one complaint that everyone mentioned was that there's not a lot of stuff to do around the convention centre. My point against that is that it's surrounded by bars. But people wanted to look at landmarks and touristy type things. My counter argument is that you're just like a walk away from a train station. I think there's even a gondola somewhere where you can just like you can go anywhere in London on the trains. It's fantastic. And if you wanted to go see like the fucking Tower of London, it's just over here, just take a train, there you are, done. Yeah, so I think people complaining about the stuff to do around the convention centre I think it was a weak argument. There's plenty of stuff to do if you look around, or if you want to take a train or a gondola, it's fine. The things to do at the convention centre, so I'm just going to drop in and have a quick look again. So like I said, I think this one was actually part of the RTX hall, and I think over here was one as well. All the way over here. Why are you moving me so slow? That one over there I think that was one of the, either it was an entrance to the main hall, or it was it's one of the panel rooms. So you got another, it was either that one or panel room over there. And that was another panel room there as well. I've got lots to complain about this fucking panel room, but we'll get there eventually. So this is a very shittily scanned map of what they gave us for RTX 2017. This map looks nothing like what it actually was in the convention center. So let's just have a quick draw. So that was a separate room where you could go and get your badges. Over here, that was a separate room, although I cannot draw a straight line for the life of me. I'm doing it with a mouse, so that's my excuse. Was a panel room. So really, the main exhibit hall was this entire sector here. So let's start in the top left. I know it's zoomed in so you can barely read it, but in the top left we have autographs. So let's just take my thing down. We'll choose a different color for this. So actually this was up against the wall. And what we had here was just booths for people. But basically, this is where all the Rooster Teeth celebrities were. This is where you saw I could get autographs with Gavin Free. And I should actually mention, if you wanted to get autographs for 2017, they released the autograph codes without telling anyone. What I believe happened was they gave you the autograph code when you bought the ticket, and they didn't tell you when the autographs went live, or at least they didn't send an email out, which is what most people use for communication. I think they told you on the site first, the roosterteeth.com site first, but obviously a lot of people didn't check that, and so loads of people ended up missing out on the autograph codes because they didn't send an email out. It's what I would have done, it's what everybody was using for communication. So yeah, I missed out on getting my autograph code, but I've actually missed out on getting my autograph code this year as well. Mainly because as soon as they actually did send out an email this year. It's like, alright, the autograph codes are now live, this is your code. As soon as I got that email, I opened it up, got the code. As soon as I went to the site, it was down. It was immediately down, and it's been down for ages. The one time it did come up, the autograph codes were out, like sold out. So fuck it, I didn't get an autograph code this year as well. Boo-hoo. So those people who were lucky enough to get an autograph code, you would line up here against the wall, like that. Next to it, we had the VIP lounge, and it was actually that tiny. I actually think it was I have no idea what was going on in there, but basically there was a desk outside with a dude sat there, like kind of like a bouncer who would check that you had a VIP badge. I have no idea what was going on inside there. If you were a VIP at RTX London 2017, please let me know what was going on inside there, because the only thing I can think of is that it's a TARDIS, and inside it is a massive orgy, because literally, if you stood in the middle of the room and you outstretched your arms, both your arms would be touching both sides of the wall. It was fucking tiny. I have no idea what was going on inside there. Maybe it's just a registration room where you went in and got some like bonus swag if you're a VIP, but I have no clue what was going on inside there. We'll get to the center stage in a second, but we'll go down here to the quiet room. I know you can barely see my cursor, but down at the bottom here we have the quiet room. Now, I didn't actually see the quiet room. You can't see me, but I'm doing room in air quotes, because around there was actually the bathrooms. And maybe if you went down the steps to the bathrooms, there was a separate room that was the quiet room. So for those of you who don't know what a quiet room is, I think it's something RTX actually started. So you would go down to this room. If the amount of people are overwhelming to you, or if the noise is overwhelming, you can go to this room, you can sit there and chill out. It's nice and quiet. I think it's a very good idea. However, like I said, I didn't see the room, but what they did have, and it was fucking hilarious. I must have some pictures somewhere. I'll actually go through my picture collection at the end of this and see what I've got. So we'll do like that. So it was actually probably a bit smaller than that, but that'll be fine. So in that area, it was kind of open plan. There were no walls or anything like that, but there were loads of beanbag chairs. And by loads, I mean probably 6 for like hundreds and hundreds of people. What I'm going to do here, I'm just going to draw a black line. So there was a camera equipment setup for the center stage. And we'll actually go and talk about the center stage now. There were some major problems with the center stage. We'll get to them in just a second. So I'm just going to draw like that. So there were hundreds and hundreds of chairs for the center stage. There were nowhere near enough chairs. So yeah, I'll talk about the main problem with that right now. So in between the events on the main stage, what the etiquette to do was to get up and move, and people who were queuing for the next event on the main stage were queuing up down here along this side or along the wall down there. So just get rid of that. So they were queuing up all the way down there, waiting for seats for the center stage. But obviously, if you were sitting down at a seat and the thing you just watched is finished and you want to watch the next one, of course you're not going to get up and move. So what ended up happening was that loads of people were sat over here waiting for the chairs. Nobody got up and moved when their event finished. They just sat there and camped all day on these like chairs watching the main stage, and all these poor people over here never got a fucking chance to go and sit down. Now, to be fair, there were no signs. There were no guardians going around saying, "Hey, can you please move? You're only allowed to sit here per event." If you've watched your event, please get up and go somewhere else, or go join the back of the line down here at the bottom for your next event. And of course, well, nobody did this. Like I said, there was no guardians going around saying that. There were no signs, so nobody moved because they weren't told to. All it would have taken was a guardian to go up on stage and it's like, hey, you guys, if you were here just for this event, please move. I mean, there were people who had medical passes, who were in wheelchairs, who couldn't go and watch stuff on the centre stage because nobody fucking moved. But again, I would not place the blame entirely on the people who were camping the chairs. Like I said, there was nobody telling them to do otherwise. It was trusting them to be good people, which you can't do. You can't do that. You've got to tell people to do shit. So on the centre stage, they had interviews, they had little let's plays going on with achievement hunter and stuff like that. I felt it was really good. When there were events on stage, it was really fun. The one issue I had is the camera equipment down here took up a lot of space. I don't know if they could have moved that. I can't think of anywhere better for the cameras to have gone. But what happened is, especially during the biggest event there for the centre stage was the RT podcast. And basically, myself included, was stood around all the way down to the back there. People blocking the cameras there, all the way down there, all the way it was fucking packed full of people trying to watch the centre stage. If that little camera equipment wasn't there, maybe you could have squeezed, that would have gone all the way back here, so you would have people lined up there as well, so it would have taken a lot of stress off. But I don't know if they could have moved that somewhere. Again, I would have no idea where they could have gone, where they could have moved the cameras. But like I said, it's just a thought, basically. I think I said this before, but this map looks nothing like the exhibit hall. So let's see if I can change my pen color to, let's do green. So let's do, well, on the top right, this Rooster Teeth store, that's actually accurate. It was huge. It covered a huge area selling Rooster Teeth merch. Just below that, they had these tabletop games. It was actually 3 separate areas down here. So you had the RT Games booth and the tabletop games and the first booth. So I didn't go to the first booth. I don't know what was there. I think it was just like where you can get the first boxes. It's kind of like Rooster Teeth's loot crate type system that they have. I don't know. I'm not part of that. But the 2 tables to the left of that, they had the tabletop games, which I thought was really good. They had a bunch of tabletop games out and people were just playing them, having tournaments. It was really fun. Next to that, they had the RT Games booth, and by that, I think they only had 2 games there. I think they had the Ruby game, which I'm going to say this might piss off a few people, but it's absolutely awful. But at least they had something there. The other game they had was, I think it's BlazBlue. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I always call it BlazeBlue because that sounds better. But basically, the Ruby characters were going to be characters on BlazBlue, so they had a little setup there, and they had tournaments, which was really fun. This little down here, this RT Bloodfest bar, that was way further. I had no idea it had something to do with Bloodfest, but that was way further. That was about, let's change to a different peg color. That was about there, and that booth was a little further up. And this fucking bar, I remember I went to RTX London 2016, and they had a bar set up there for Off Topic. And they have the exact same problem there, is that they have this bar, and it's really cool. They're serving drinks. I don't think they were alcoholic, they were more like slushies, but it was still nice, still a good idea. It had a nice aesthetic setup, it was all kind of like a stage, it was cool. But they had 5 fucking chairs. 5 chairs for hundreds of people. And I don't know if I said this during this little quiet area. They had 5 beanie bags for hundreds and hundreds of people. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I can complain about that for fucking ages. So that bar was much further up there. Let's change to a different coloured pen. Let's do purple. So what it doesn't show on here is the main part of any convention, and that's the fucking stores. It's the fucking developers. It's the aisles and aisles of shops and video games and all that sort of shit. Now, let's zoom in for this bit because it's gonna get quite technical. So along here, I don't think they had this many lines actually. They only had maybe four lines, but I can't remember. So you had all these shops here selling different stuff. You had all the shops here selling different stuff, and all on this side. So let's actually change that. So let's do a white line there. So all in that white space there, and that little purple squiggle is that was all the stores that were selling stuff. So they were selling video game weapons made of wood and plastic and foam. That was really cool. A few of them were advertising stuff that were coming out later in the future. That was kind of pointless. But I think the stores are actually pretty cool. It's one of those things you only look around kind of once and see what there is. Over here on the right, these two lines were actually it was just one line of like indie game developers. And I'm just gonna get rid of that line there, and behind it we have another layer. But fuck it. So just one line of like games that you can play. These are like games that haven't come out yet. They're like indie developed games, and even then. So I'm just gonna draw like that, down that, and down that, and down like that, and like that. So that part was completely empty. There was nobody in that section, and you did have a few games there, but like I said, they only had like maybe enough space for one person, or even one or two people per game. So like 1 or 2 people there, 1 or 2 people there, and 1 or 2 people, and then that had the biggest space, and that only had like literally just space for 2 people to play a game. And this one was fucking terrible in this little corner here. There wasn't a game, it was a dude who literally just sat in the chair for the entire 2 days while a pre-rendered trailer for a video game played. That's all that happened. He sat there on his phone, we just walked past and looked at this trailer, and he was just sat there the entire time. We could have gone up and asked him a few questions about it, I guess. But there was nothing there else about this, just the TV playing with this fucking pre-rendered trailer. We had no idea what the game was about or what type of game it was. That was fucking terrible. One of the biggest things I've forgotten to mention is actually the Nintendo booth, which was really cool. So let's do that there. Oh, that's a terrible colour. That shows something there. Let's choose a different colour. Let's go for turquoise. Is that any better? That was better. So Nintendo had a big booth, and this was before Mario Odyssey came out, so they were showing off Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch. They actually had a competition going, I believe. I didn't take part in it, but I did watch people play it. And the most annoying thing about this, it was cool. It was a good stage. You had I think like a Pacific type theme set up, Mario statues and that sort of stuff. It was a really good booth. But they had like the competition going, like I said, and because of that, they had a dude on a fucking loudspeaker just like commentated over everything and saying, "Oh, he's the winner," and that sort of shit. This was right next to the fucking quiet area down here, so if you're in the quiet area, you're getting a fucking guy on a loudspeaker fucking blasting you. And it was right next to the fucking main stage, so if you were watching a main stage, I think even during the RT podcast, this guy was going on, and everyone was just fucking like, this guy overpowered it. It was ridiculous. So that was it. It was actually very, very, very small for a convention, I think, at least. Especially RTX and that sort of stuff. When I went to RTX 2016, I mean, it was like 2 entire hotels full of stuff to do, while here was just 1 room. But this was intentional. They wanted this to be sort of like a test, to see how many people would turn up to an RTX in England. And yeah, so they didn't do a lot of stuff here. So now I'm going to get to my biggest complaint, and this was the biggest complaint of everybody at RTX London. It is something they should have done better at. Let's just cut to the Google Maps. So now I'm going to complain about the biggest issue at RTX London 2017. This was the biggest complaint that everybody was talking about on Twitter. Everyone was talking about in person when we met up at the bar later. Yeah, so they had no idea how to do queues at all. So this room here, this was one of the main panel rooms. So basically there was a panel there saying, like a board there saying this what's happening on the panel and what times they are. There's maybe 1 or 2 guardians at the entrance here just stopping people from coming in. And if you wanted to queue at this panel, there were no signs saying where to queue. They're not saying where to like queue here or anything like that. So when people came to queue up for this room, where did they queue? Well, we had a line going at that column over there, and that went over on that side. We had a line forming at this column here, and that went up to this side. And in this is like an old picture. So what there is actually here now is a wall going across there, and there's some seats and tables that's part of the food court there. And people who didn't want to wait in line went and sat in there for the doors to open, and then they'd push in front of everybody else and try and go through the doors. So yeah, not great at all. So actually on the first day we wanted to see the second panel in this room, which was £1 million although. So we went really early, like literally like maybe 3 hours early, and we got to see the first panel go into the room. So I was sat here having my breakfast with one of my friends, and we saw the line out that side, we saw the line at this side, and we saw people pushing in front, and we're like, alright, well, as soon as these people go in, we're going to line up for our event at £1 million or Dough. And what they did is they let people on this side of the line go in first, and every now and again a Guardian did go up to these people on this side and say, look, you're not going to get in here, the line is meant to be forming at this side down here. There's no signs over here telling people to queue up there. And yeah, so people were just guessing basically. So these people didn't fully move and just pushed in when that event started, that panel started. So as soon as everybody went in, I went up and queued. I was literally the first person there. So it was just me, and we started a queue on that side. Obviously, like I said, there's no sign, so as time went on, people started queuing up at that side, people started sitting over here and tried to push in. And eventually, it was so packed around here, like literally you couldn't get past anyone, because people were trying to like push in front of everybody. There was no official start to the line. The fucking Guardians did a terrible job here. They just said, right, God, the fucking Guardians here. So when we went near the start of the line here, so it was only like a couple of people that were queuing up here. I went up to the Guardian and said, "Hey, is that the right place to queue? Like, where should we queue if we want to see this panel?" I said, "Oh, the queue doesn't start." I was like, "Okay, well, what do you mean it doesn't start?" It's like, "Yeah, you can't queue here. You can't queue here for your panel." Now, at the time, I didn't read the FAQ on the website, and on the RTX FAQs it says, right, you can only queue for your panel up until an hour beforehand. Now, anybody who's gone to a con before and wants to see a panel, you know if it's going to be a big one, you want to be there at least 2 hours early to get near the front. And this is advice Rooster Teeth have given out for RTX Austin before. They said, alright, before at least to get there at least 2 hours if you want to have a chance of seeing the panel. So this is just con mentality. You want to get there really early so you can get the good seats. But they're like, no, you can only queue an hour beforehand. It's like, alright, well, where do we queue? It's like, alright, just go, well, the queue will start over here. It's like, okay, I'll go over here and wait. And there was loads of people now all queuing back there, so I was stood here waiting. Then the Guardian came up and announced everybody, hey, you can't queue, please leave. And nobody moved. Nobody fucking moved. Everyone just stood the ground. It's like, the Guardian's like, look, you can't queue here. So everyone just pulled out their phones and started looking at the phones, just ignoring him. And myself included, because I was like fucking there first. And I have a story to tell later on that will sort of justify my actions. So it is kind of a dick move not to do as the Guardians say. But it was their terrible planning that caused this incident in the first place. So the queue got longer and longer until eventually it was all the way back at the other side of the fucking convention. This room up at the top here, I think my friend has a picture that he took from that window there, and you can just see a line of people going all the way back just queuing for this room. And there's two issues with that. The first one is the Guardians weren't counting the amount of people in the queue. One thing you do when you're queuing for a room like this is that you count the people in the queue so you know when to cut it off, so you don't get people waiting for no reason. They didn't do that. They didn't count the amount of people going into the room. So people who actually got through this door and went up the escalators and waited in the room, some of them ended up having to get kicked out because they didn't count the people going into the room and it got too full. Again, a big mistake. That's a very rookie mistake. I expected more from RTX. And down here, people in the queue, when it got massive, again, the Guardians were coming up and saying, look, please leave, go get a coffee or something, you can't queue here. And the few people, like maybe like 5 people who did go off and get coffee, when they came back, they were told they can't go in because it's got capacity. So the people who did, as the Guardian said, didn't get into the panel. The people who were being dicks, myself included, got into the panel. And I should actually mention, so I was queuing up here like 2 hours beforehand. I started the queue, I was at the very front, it went all the way back. Of course, people over there started queuing. People were sat there. So even though I was first by 2 hours, the Guardians let everybody who went and camped and pushed in at the front over here first because they kind of had to. I don't blame them for this. They were causing an obstruction. The Guardians had to let them in. So that is one of my biggest complaints about RTX, is that this very basic thing of queuing. You can't beat the mentality that if you want to see something, you've got to get there early. They're doing the same again this year. I looked at the FAQs, and they said, yeah, you can only queue an hour beforehand. What they said is you'll get there an hour beforehand, and you say, all right, then they'll let you into the room to queue. So maybe they won't be doing this one at all. This little room, that would be a good idea, because over here, what they had another panel room over here, which was much better than the other one. It was still pretty terrible. So they had half the room is like a waiting area, and the other half of the room was the panel room with all the panels, the stage and the chairs and that such. So you could actually queue in there. You weren't blocking anyone out here, and the Guardians did tell you where to queue and what to do and that sort of stuff. So it was a very rookie mistake, not even like an A4 sign you stuck on the wall to say the queue for this panel room starts here. All you needed was like a board over there that says like if you want to queue, go to the panel, go to the pillar on the right, and then you can have like a sign here. So the Guardians needed clickers to count the amount of people in the queue and the amount of people going into the room, so they didn't have to kick people out and people didn't have to wait in line for no reason. This is very, very rookie mistakes. I mean, this RTX, you would have expected them to have some sort of like basic like con rules, like how to run a con, like some very basic concepts down, but they didn't in this case. So hopefully this year they will have a better grip on things. They will have clickers on the Guardians so they can count the amount of people in the queue and the amount of people going into the room, and hopefully they will have clearly posted like queuing areas. I'm a bit annoyed that they're saying you can only queue an hour early because people are going to ignore that, or people are just going to come and wait around the queuing area if they're not allowed to wait inside the queuing area. It's going to be ridiculous. We'll see what happens. So I think I've complained a lot during this video about RTX 2017, and yeah, there were some really huge mistakes, but overall I enjoyed my experience there. I loved seeing the people in person. I was seeing all these YouTubers that I love to watch, and I loved hanging out with people. Everybody at the bar, the Fox XL, that was just jam-packed full of Rooster Teeth fans. There were people coming in who had no idea about the con going on, and they were just fucking confused. I saw people walk into the bar, turn around, and just walk back out. It was just packed full of people. And it was fun meeting people. It was fun talking. We all sat down and started talking about like the people we wanted to see, the panels we wanted to go to, that sort of stuff. It was a really fun time. Okay, so I have complained a lot. I have a lot of issues with RTX London 2017. It was not bad, but it was definitely not good. There were loads of mistakes. They should have known better, considering that they've done RTX Austin and RTX Sydney. They should have known a lot better than some of the stuff. Like just telling people where to queue is one of the most basic things you need to do, and they didn't do it. So I'm still complaining. So overall, yeah, lots of stuff that could have improved on, but the venue, the location was great, and when I actually have a positive overall experience. I loved seeing these YouTubers that I watch all the time on the PC, but I get to see them in person and take a few pictures with them, which you can lose later on, somewhere down the year. But overall, I had a positive experience. I'm going again this year. I'm going this weekend. So hopefully this year will be better. They will have learned from the mistakes and feedback they got last year, because everyone was vocal about it. They were telling Guardians, they were tweeting about it constantly. So hopefully they've taken that into account and everything will be better. We will see. I'm going to do a video after RTX, and that will be like a recap of my time there. So until then, thank you for watching, guys, and stay awesome.